officials concluded to...
Wait a second. This is the short person's view of the war. So the briefing was very informative. I feel like this administration has been as transparent as you possibly can be without compromising war plans. So I want to congratulate them in terms of keeping us informed. My takeaway, quite frankly, is the Iranians have a strategy of trying to create regional chaos to shut down airports, hit hotels, drive up economic cost to see if the region will break and sue for peace. I've been on the phone all day with our Arab allies, and quite the opposite is unfolding. So I'm here to tell you the good news for me is I think the regional partners, the Arab partners, are going to be more involved, not less. They're not going to break. They're going to get in the fight in a more direct way. And Iran made a major miscalculation by attacking Kuwait and Qatar and Saudi Arabia. The countries now are more intent than ever to end the threat forever. So what I see in the coming days is more capability directed at the regime that's non-American, more planes flying that are non-Americans, more missile capability brought to the fight by our allies. So the ability to inflict harm on the regime is going to increase, not just because we're more committed to ending this, because we're going to have more partners to do that. Now, so what's the goal here? The goal is to make sure that when this is over, this regime cannot build ballistic missiles to hit America or terrorize the region. That when this conflict is over, they cannot continue to support Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis, the terrorist network, and they can never go back in the nuclear business. One of the things that really got President Trump going the most was after Midnight Hammer, we found that they were trying to regenerate their nuclear program. After basically months of negotiation, it was pretty clear that they're wedded to the capability they need to inflict terror, that the regime's goal is always to inflict terror and to push their religious agenda through force. And the missile buildup is designed to give them immunity in terms of developing their nuclear program. If we waited much longer, they're doing 100 a month. The idea of imminent threat to me is an odd thing. Who wants to let a homicidal maniac be able to get to the imminent stage of hurting you? If somebody is threatening my family, wants to rape your wife and burn down your house and kill your children, I don't want to wait till they get to the gun store and the gas station. Since 1979, this regime has been dedicated to chaos through their religious agenda. In 1983, 220 Marines were killed by Hezbollah in Lebanon, 18 sailors, 100 injured. Roadside bombs coming out of Iran have maimed and killed hundreds, if not thousands, of Americans. They mean it when they say death to America. I'm glad we didn't let it go further. I'm glad we didn't let them build more missiles. I'm glad we didn't let them regenerate after Midnight Hammer. So the idea that you're going to let a homicidal maniac get to the imminent stage, to me, is misplaced. So I've never felt better about how this ends. It's not if they fall, it's when they fall. It's not us alone, it's us with the region. Europe is now getting into the game. So I want to compliment President Trump for starting something that the world is now gravitating to. This regime is in its death throes. The amount of firepower coming in the next day or two from us is going to be overwhelming. And when you add to the mix the Arab capability, then it's going to be overwhelming. The demise of this regime is at hand. And the goal is to make sure they can never be a threat like they were before.
Senator, how do you know that the next regime that may come in may not be more hardline than the last regime?
I don't think 32,000 people went to their death to be hard-ass. That's really offensive to the people in the street, that they want a country that's more crazy. Why are they in the street? They don't like living under the Ayatollah. These people are not facing guns without arms because they like what's going on. To think that the protesters want more Ayatollah is really offensive to them. Here's what's going to happen.
Maybe they won't be able to
Just wait a
control
minute. The idea of the Ayatollah being our friend is zero. The idea of the Ayatollah giving up his nuclear ambitions were zero. He's a religious fanatic. You could say that about Hitler. I bet somebody asked in 1935, what happened if we killed Hitler? God, I wish we'd have known. It will only get better. Now, what happens is up to the Iranian people, not me, not anybody here. They have a chance to take their country back if this regime falls, and I think they want it back in a different way. The idea that these people would want the same thing after sacrificing really is short-sighted. It's offensive to them. So, to the world, to Europe, get behind the protesters. They're your best chance to have a stable Iran. They're not going to repeat the mistakes of the past, I don't believe, but if they do, we'll do what we did in the past. We'll deal with the threat. So the idea that you, like taking Hitler out, if somebody asked that in 1935 and they say, let's don't do it, boy, was that a big mistake. It would be a big mistake to let this regime continue to march toward a nuclear weapon, to build more missiles. So the regime is going to fall, and what follows will be up to the Iranian people, and I think it's going to be better. And the biggest prize of all is that when they fall, I talked to Saudi Arabia today. When this regime collapses, there will be a sprint toward normalization. Bibi said last night that he wants to work with Saudi Arabia to take up where they left off under President Biden, and I want to give him credit for trying to expand the Abraham Accords to Saudi-Israel, which is the biggest prize of all. So this regime is going to collapse. It's not if, it's when. And when that happens, there'll be a gateway to peace that no one ever envisioned. So, President Trump, I'm glad you did it when you did it. If we waited much longer, we'd have a bigger threat on our hands, and we're on the verge of a new dawn.
Senator Graham, is there a need at any point for Congress to take a vote or have any role here?
Absolutely. Here's what I think. Normalization will require Congress. MBS wants a treaty with the United States. Well, that requires 67 votes. There may be a supplemental coming. I think there will be a supplemental. We'll have to approve that. Now, let me tell you, I've been a military lawyer most of my adult life. The War Powers Act has been viewed as unconstitutional by every president, Republican, Democrat, since its passage. Why? Because it says after 60 days of combat operations, military operations, they must terminate unless Congress approves. You're shifting the power from the commander-in-chief to the Congress. If we don't like a military operation, we can cut off funding. But the War Powers Act is an unconstitutional shift of authority from the president, and it would create 535 commander-in-chiefs. It's going to fail tomorrow. Now, if you want to have a vote as to whether or not you approve this operation without a War Powers Act, that's fine with me. I don't mind people being on record as to whether or not they think this is a good idea. I do mind Congress becoming the commander-in-chief.
Senator, you were extremely critical after Benghazi, after the Afghanistan withdrawal. There are thousands of Americans stuck in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Do you think the administration is doing enough to make sure they get
Yes, Marco's doing a good job. Here's who you contact to get out. We're trying to send flights in. You pay now or you pay later. If they get a nuclear weapon, they would use it. They keep trying no matter what we do. Why? Because they want a nuclear weapon to enact their agenda. They want to purify Islam. They want to destroy Saudi Arabia and Sunni Islam and then replace it with Shia Islam. That's what they say, not what I say. They have been building ballistic missiles at a rate that is just stunning. They've killed 32,000 plus of their people who've been protesting, and they support Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. One thing to President Trump, in case you're watching. In 1983, Ronald Reagan sent Marines and sailors to try to police and deal with the Lebanese civil war. They were at the end of the runway. Hezbollah attacked the Marine barracks, killed 220 Marines, 18 sailors, and wounded 100 others. Ronald Reagan, who I admire and love, withdrew and never did anything about it. So I'm calling on President Trump today. Join Israel to attack Hezbollah. Avenge the Marines. America never forgets. Those 220 Marines and 18 sailors' families, we want to go after the infrastructure that killed your loved ones. There are IRGC assets in Beirut as I speak. President Trump, come up with a new operation called Simplify. Fly with Israel and go after Hezbollah, who has American blood on its hands. Not only take the mothership of Iran down, also take the proxy of Hezbollah, settle the score, even the account.
Senator, what is your best assessment of what the timeline looks like now?
I feel that's a good question.
And then also, how are we not going to be drawn into a larger ground operation?
There is no reason right now to use troops, but if we need them, the goal is victory. Listen to this. Donald Trump is seeking victory against the Iranian regime. Who's going to win a war between the Iranian regime and the United States? We are. We're going to win this conflict. We have Arab partners today that we didn't have yesterday. So this is going to end with us winning and the Ayatollah's regime going down. What happens next is up to the Iranian people. So what I would tell the American people, pull for victory. Hope that this works well. Pull for the idea that the Iranian people can live without the Ayatollah, that they can be a new Iran emerges from the ashes of this regime. It would be a good thing for the world. At the end of the day, the region is committed to seeing it through. Iran is trying to break their will. It has backfired. So the timetable is shifted. I think the demise of the regime is far more likely to come quicker today than it was yesterday, because we have more partners today.
Are we days, weeks?
I don't know. You need to ask the military people. And, you know, in World War II, they didn't ask how long would it take. They said, we're going to go to Berlin, we're going to go Tokyo, we're going to protect our life. See, what you got to understand, that the regime in Iran would kill everybody in this room if they could. It's not about Republicans or Democrats. It's about Americans. They're religious fanatics. They want to kill all the Jews. They want to destroy Sunni Islam. They want to come after us. So we need to have the approach to this like we did in World War II. This is a terrible mothership of terrorism regime that's killed Americans since 1979, terrorized the region, and it's on the verge of collapse. And I want to congratulate Donald Trump and his team for putting together the most impressive military plan I have ever seen. What's coming in the coming days from us is going to be a lot bigger than it's been in the last couple of days. The Arabs are in the fight now, so stay tuned. What's coming toward the remnants of the regime is going to be overwhelming. The liberation of Iran is at hand. The gateway to peace is about to open. Things that I've been working on with President Biden can now materialize. The biggest prize in the region would be the end of the Arab-Israeli conflict. That will never happen as long as Iran is around. October the 7th was designed to stop what President Biden and I were trying to do, build on the Abraham Accords. Iran's worst nightmare is the Arabs and the Israelis make peace, because they're not a peace-loving people. It's a cult of death. We're going to take up where we left off when this regime collapses. And I think the biggest prize of all from taking the regime down is that those who want to make peace in the region will be able to do it without being threatened by the mothership of terrorism.